Shoot. While I'm on Fortnite, I really had to realize something, man. The games and stuff that should be on sale for PS5 are not on sale. I'm hoping that the Password goes on sale for $19.99 or something like that, or I really think it should go for $19.99. I think it should be like relatively free. That's how I feel right now. Now I'm not gonna buy it. I'm gonna tell you all that now. So, that's just my honesty. So, that being said, I put some money away for some games and stuff like that. I'm not spending money, so I'm at a good stopping point for now. They do have some games coming out, like for instance, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I don't think I'm gonna be getting those games, and I know that's surprising. I had Tony Hawk for the PSP, but I don't really think that was how can I say, a real. How can I say? It's been so long ago. I think Tony Hawk definitely, definitely a great game, but for the price they're asking for, $49.99. Granted, that's not as bad as some of these games I have bought. And there's nothing to do with them anymore. Like Miles Morales, I love Miles Morales. The game was good. I will tell you, you'll probably get 26 hours out of the game. It's one of those games I would say get it if you can, but someone might say, well, if you bought just the regular edition, how do you get the Spider-Man remastered? You go inside the game and it'll have it on there for $20. So that's another game you can buy, the remastered original Spider-Man. And me personally, I'm not going to go and buy it, even though it's something to play for $20 and it's a next-gen game. I'm just starting to think about it. I like Spider-Man, but Spider-Man, in my honest opinion, I don't know how to put it. To me, I can't really see myself doing that. We're trying to justify that, so it is what it is in that component. So, I was playing Neo earlier. And, I like Neo. I stopped playing it because I didn't really think it was my thing. But I realized I'm actually pretty good at it, but I don't, how do I put it? That's not really a mainstream title. So, like Neo, of all the games, it's not a mainstream title. And the games came out, I think 2019, 2021. They done DLC and stuff for it, but DLC, in my opinion, is late for the game. That's like Mortal Kombat in the state that it's in. Someone talking about DLC. Mortal Kombat has some hits. Mortal Kombat, in my opinion, has no hits. I'm just honest. I'm not bad at Mortal Kombat at all, but I just don't think that. Me personally, I don't think I could play it. Just because of how things is just situated with the game. You don't have to be nothing crazy, but I'm thinking about it. When you see a game that's been out for at this point we're coming up on 2 years, they haven't made any announcement on a new pack, and then the only thing that they had was the title, Mortal Kombat. The only thing they had is to launch it with PS5 or next gen consoles. I'm not moving till this guy moves. Goodbye. Alright, so better what I'm saying. Like, I don't really know any game that's came out, relatively speaking, next gen game that's kept the momentum. Instead of released along with the consoles, either it did or it didn't, in my opinion. Some of this is facts though. Like for instance, Spider-Man. People will tell you that Spider-Man is good, but for long term, it's definitely a great addition for a console. But if you're thinking about the games, like I just went down the list of games and most AAA titles and stuff I do have. The one thing I'm glad is I got Mortal Kombat for free, but I don't like how what they did with the stuff. Like they have a new DLC pack, that might be a good, $20 or something like that, or $15. However they decide to price it. The aftermath stuff like that, I like that. But I definitely feel like, Mortal Kombat, they didn't have no type of bundle for like anything really. Like I didn't see Mortal Kombat being bundled with the PlayStation 5 at all because it's not really a mainstay. Demon Souls, it's definitely one of them games. I feel like definitely a great game for PS5. It's not everybody's thing, but if you get it, there's some fun in trying to learn play a game. Demon Souls, I wasn't even thinking about it, and I got it like late. It's not a game I would normally settle for. Like the price, but I feel like I definitely got my money worth out of the game. So I'm still on it. I gotta watch a video from I think the guy's name was Fighting Cowboy. So I gotta go and watch some of the videos. And I'm just still thinking about it. I I'm still thinking about something. So one of the things I think, in my honest opinion, about games and certain stuff like that, the price of these games is just like ridiculous. That's just me being honest. Like Little Big Planet. I think Little Big Planet definitely one of those games that kid friendly game. There's not that much you can do. They gotta obviously expand stuff like for the kids and stuff like that. So it's definitely a title, but and then along with Fortnite. But when someone gets the PS5, like you should definitely open like the horizons for games. Right now there is no games. But I think Xbox is doing a better job. I would say no, but that the ability to access games is a whole lot better on Xbox, and that I'm not really a fanboy or anything like that towards consoles, but yeah, that's just me being honest to the fact that Xbox is not selling as well as PlayStation. That's just a fact. But in some ways, Xbox has a differentiation in terms like they know who their customer base is. They know to a certain extent how much money people are willing to pay for a game. And then I definitely agree. Game Pass is something that needs to be like instituted in the gaming industry because how many times do you spend money on a game, get some play out of it and whatnot? But, the thing about me with this, I will never buy this version of a game. That's why I got the digital console. But, it goes hand in hand. Buying a digital game is good and it is bad because you can't get your money back to a certain extent. I don't really think that PlayStation does like refunds unless there's something fishy going on. Um, or something like Cyberpunk. That's the only time that I definitely think that that happens. So that's just my thoughts real quick. This should be sturdy. This should get some mechanical parts. Yeah. A little rusty stuff. I have won a game on this new season, but I don't think I was streaming it, so that's kind of interesting. So, in my opinion. Alright. How am I lagging? So, um, alright. If I take some noticeably bad damage here, I got the stuff. So, dude, let me think about some games and stuff that I don't know. A lot of PS5 games are single player. Like, how can I put it? Demon's Souls is definitely single player for the most part. You can join people, but I don't like the process. Neo, I feel like it's okay. Neo is Neo. Neo is not on the same level as Demon's Souls and vice versa. Both of them have their individual strengths and stuff like that to make it, different from each other. Both are like from Japanese studios, but one is more different than the other. One takes a look at like medieval stuff, and then Neo takes a look at the samurai stuff, and then the dynasties in Japan. So I feel like that's interesting, in my opinion. Do I think there's anything better that both games could do? I would say definitely the prices should be lowered. Neo's not bad; it's only $50, but Actually, I know I was gonna die. That right there is hilarious, in my opinion. So let me think about some other like kind of like barriers and stuff like that. PlayStation. Definitely the announcement and stuff like that. Like, what's that new game coming out? Yeah, Outriders. That's becoming free for Xbox. I think that's a major dub. Yeah, I definitely believe that's a major dub in my opinion. Um, Primarily because I feel like you have to have a certain tier of basically Game Pass Ultimate. I think. Let me focus on something else too. But the games and stuff that you buy. Games, in my opinion, you should not have to buy for full price right now. Like if the game has came out in like November and it's still full price, I kind of have a problem with that. Just because it isn't value. Um, Miles Morales definitely should be on the sale list, but because it has a claim in besides the first party studio by Sony, it's not going on price. I feel like that's going to be one of the last things to go on sale. Just because of the acclaim and praise of it. I got that platinum. That was one of my first platinum games. I have to say. Now I got some other platinums, but that was funny. I got games that were like 68 cents, and they were just platinum. You could platinum them in 5 minutes. So I was just like, I'm not a trophy hunter, but I just want to see if I can platinum again. And just to see what they give you. I'm coming for you, buddy. Oh, you trying to run away. I'm not gonna playboy. Give me a kill. Give me a few kills. I don't really care what the loot. I'm just trying to go for kills right now. There's some other stuff too. I was thinking about Immortals Phoenix Rising, and the funny thing, I was talking about that game, and then literally the max edition on that is $50, while the other one is still going for like full price. Like the regular edition is literally costing $60, but the gold edition is like 50. But to me, I definitely see what Ubisoft has been doing, and I think it's like to me, you need to start with the releases of games. This is coming from somebody who just like looks at the games and be like, God, I can see it. I can kind of get the feel of how certain stuff is. Try to see how this would be good or bad for a company. So. This person sucks. Alright, so let me focus on a few things about like two, especially with the games and stuff like that. I've not played Devil May Cry. Really, I'm not giving the game a chance. I feel like the game is great. $39.99. You really can't find a game like that. It's playable. They have fun modes and stuff like that. But the thing I really don't understand about some of these games, the genre. I think hack and slash is okay, but I don't know. I feel like if Street Fighter came out with a PS5 game, I would be interested in looking at it, but I wouldn't necessarily buy it. I think Capcom is in a different phase of what they want to do. Um, and there's just nothing necessarily wrong with being in the next phase of or idea or certain stuff. Got to keep certain stuff under wraps. But Tony Hawk, I don't know. I feel bad. There's an associated cost with buying or upgrading your copy of Tony Hawk. I wouldn't just bought Tony Hawk at all. That's just me being honest because, like, you're shelling out a $10 extra, something that most companies and stuff already gave for free. Well, people have always said do not buy a Mortal Kombat game or any of its DLCs, or just don't buy it at all, because they're going to keep on, like, they're going to have an Ultimate Edition, and then you get stuff at the best value. Now, I agree with that, Definitely, do I think I'll get the next Mortal Kombat? Possibly not. I definitely feel like I definitely played a lot of Mortal Kombat. One of my main reasons and points of not playing it anymore is just because of how the stuff is handled. DOC, I would say. It's not a good idea. What are some other aspects about the games and stuff that I think that are bad? That was good. I didn't even know that you can even craft a legendary revolver. That was fair. That was fair, but that's the thing I don't understand. To keep the book. What are some things that I think games and stuff like they do to captivate people? One of the components that I think that games and stuff are not knowing, or things that I think businesses and stuff are not really thinking. How can I put it this way? Did anybody ask, is there really a need to put money out there to create or make a product that no one asked for? Or is the stuff too late? Like me personally, I don't think there will ever be a Fortnite 2 because Fortnite is not in that position, that dire need of a Fortnite 2. There used to be this game I used to play in middle school. It's called Subway Surfers. That game has pretty much been the same, and there's not been any update on that game since, what, 2012? And Subway Surfers, man, just rock with that game a lot. Like, I had one of the best records in the world. Like, I got like 21 million, but this is when I was on like a flight to flight from New York at the time. It was like 2013. First, I think, yeah, it was most definitely like the second, yeah, it was second month. It was in February. Flight was the first week in February. I went to New York over the weekend and stuff like that. Got me some halal food that was pretty good. That halal cart. And halal chicken over rice. That was good, man. That was good. So, I was playing Subway Surfers, like, during the flight. You could, at the time, play. As long as you had airplane mode and stuff on. So I did get that. And man, I definitely got my love on stuff. I got a lot of coins and certain stuff like that. But, yeah. I feel like I definitely have, played a lot of games. My personal opinion. Like, I recently started playing Clash of Clans again, and I've been doing my French lessons every day. So, I've been upgrading on Clash of Clans. Like, someone might ask me, why am I playing Clash of Clans? I mean, it's bored. I'm bored. So, like, I might play that in between, like, going to a class or something like that. Just on my phone. Just chilling. Clash of Clans, I feel like they're not really, how do I put it this way? All this spam building is just pissing me off. Because it's not really doing anything. and the game has really become to a point where it's not really, you can't fathom enough, like, how can I put it this way, of how ridiculous Fortnite's become in terms of just, I'm not really saying the engagement or anything like that, but what I'm saying is like the overall feel of the game. Like Fortnite and all these other games focus on competitive. It becomes a joke, in my opinion, than the scrims. And all these edits and stuff like that. To me, I feel like I'm decent on Fortnite. Could be a whole lot better. I used to be really, really good in this game. Like 11 kills. For a while, I was getting like 11, 7, stuff like that. But this is when I was really getting good. And the better you get on Fortnite, the harder it's going to be to definitely pull those type of games off. Recently, I did that again. But as you know, I feel like the game, in a way, a new season is going to have everybody sweatier. That's given, you know. I don't deny that. What are some components and stuff that I don't like about Fortnite right now, or games that I bought? I would say most of the games I have bought, I have tried just for a particular reason, so I can save people money. Um, Devil May Cry is good. Demon Souls, definitely one of the games that I feel like people say have a hard time accepting that it's how can I put it? One of those games people not gonna really type of understand if they're not fully engaged with it. So $70 is steep. What? That's funny. John Wick. What's some other things I'm thinking about game wise in terms of like, you focusing on this, that, and the third? Let me go down to the PlayStation Store real quick. Are they putting the games out there that like on PS5? Like Crash Bandicoot, I definitely got that. I like Crash. Uh, Nothing really wrong with it. Outriders, I'm definitely not pre-ordering that. Not paying full price for that. Werewolves on sale for $28. I'm not buying that. Godfall, not buying that. Pathless, okay. Neo, okay. Curse, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 50. They do have games, then again, they don't. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this one because I just can't do it in terms of like how long I waited for that. I probably got, what time is it? It's 9:36. I can't believe it myself personally, but someone might say it's Dark Souls 4 coming out. I don't think Dark Souls 4 is going to be a thing. Is there I feel like remasters are going to become a thing of games. I was talking with my uncle about games, sports games in general. Like my uncle, I didn't even know that he liked MLB. I was just talking to him the other day about it, about like how we thought that the games and stuff like it's mighty interesting how if you get a disc copy of a disc console, you're basically downloading the game digitally to a certain extent. But in order to play that game, you have to have the disc in. And if you get rid of it, you can never play that game again. You have to go get the disc. That's funny. There's no way of getting around it. To me, I feel like we should definitely PlayStation Now. I don't really think that that's a great idea. To stream a game and the fact that it's not available in all regions and territories, and then the fact in some of these regions and territories they don't really have great internet. So take that as you will with that, because great internet and stuff like that isn't really a thing, really. In some of these places, like, for instance, Jamaica, it's pretty, the internet and stuff like that is pretty, the cell service, it just depends. The max that you're going to get in Jamaica, it just depends, like, when I go to Jamaica and stuff like that, it's only for like a week. And the best that you get at certain times is 3G, so that's not necessarily bad. The infrastructure, it just depends. I'll probably play the 10 or so. Let the time kind of go. You know, I'm just thinking about certain stuff, and people talk about employment, employability and certain stuff like that. And the more I start to think about it, what? That's whatever with that. The blue and stuff sold me out. Do I think I will play Mortal Kombat again? I don't know, man. I've seen a whole lot of people in terms of Mortal Kombat, the viewership and stuff is way down. Like, I've seen the leagues and stuff like that, and I saw Sony, in my opinion, they're doing a whole lot of stuff. I saw that they bought Evo, and Evo is one of the biggest fighting game tournaments and stuff like that. That is kind of major, if you really think about that, because I feel like Sony branding and stuff is going to be there. Nintendo probably took an L in terms of, like, you think about it. There's not, to my knowledge, I have not heard anything about Smash Ultimate or anything like that. About that being a fighting game tournaments and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, but I feel like it's going to have to, you seriously going to have to be searching for, tournaments, how I would say I would definitely say how basically you don't have to actually be searching for it. Cause me, I've never heard of any type of fighting game clubs and stuff like that. For instance, where I live at, and I wouldn't join it because fighting games, in my opinion, they haven't really been uh, real popular, in my opinion. Like the hype and then the focus from the developers like Capcom. Capcom is not really focused on, how can I put it? They're not focused on a traditional game. How can I put it that way? Just like Sega. Sega had a lot of games and stuff like that. They had a console, Sega Genesis and all that type of stuff. That junk came out, what, 1993? All them games. But the thing about Sega, they're not really producing game consoles anymore, games. And if they are producing games, like I'm going to tell you, what I didn't see in my own two eyes, but back to what I'm saying, like Smash Ultimate, I feel like you had to check a different type of. You would definitely have to really check for that, man. Like different sector. Like you're not going to really find too many people. Smash Ultimate is pretty big, It definitely has a fan base, but how can I put it this way? It's big, but how can I put it? It's Nintendo. I don't have a problem with Nintendo. I really don't. All right, there we go. And I'm definitely Nintendo. I grew up playing Nintendo. I played pretty much every game console, in my opinion, some way somehow. Like Nintendo. Nintendo definitely had a lot. Like GameCube and stuff like that. I never owned GameCube, but I have played on GameCube. You go like a coward. So let me focus on some other points. I don't know. My most fighting games, and for instance, like definitely, like I said, all the games that were popular like in the '90s, who had people, like for instance, Street Fighter, Capcom. I definitely feel like Capcom's definitely changed over the years. Sega, for instance, they're not making games anymore. Yakuza Like a Dragon, I mean. With the RPG, bro. Thank you. Give me that RPG. Alright. We turn that off. So, like, for instance, last Sega thing that I played, or something like that, was in Dave and Buster's. And I haven't been to Dave and Buster's in a long time, so I think that is very interesting. Like, for instance, for me, to play a game, it's like, for instance, like that, it is particularly because I'm in that environment, Dave and Buster's, like, and in the games that I played in Dave and Buster's by Sega, for instance, it was just kind of, I don't know how to put it. It was like, it was out of whack, at least for me. Like when Sega used to do like card games and stuff like that, that's when I used to play it. I think they had a game for Xbox. I'm not sure what it's called, but I can look at my bin and stuff like that. I used to play the crap out of Sega card games and stuff like that. So, and for those who don't know, I grew up on Xbox. So, and I got PlayStation when I was like, what, 9 or, I think I was, yeah. I was most definitely like 9. I was playing Modern Warfare. I had no idea that like Call of Duty was like a release. Like they released the way it did. So there was plenty of times like I saw Modern Warfare 2. I had no idea. You know, this was like the latest game or certain stuff like that. But I wish games would stop releasing, making annual releases because that's just not, in my honest opinion, it's not really what I've seen and what's been produced is not, worth the price. I was still playing Modern Warfare when came out. World at War. That was funny. I'm about to turn 22. Like a month and some change. So I ain't that old. dummy. I might be the real dummy. I didn't pick up any heals. I gotta go hella far. Well, I gotta get a med kit. I gotta get something. Okay, here goes one. God. Help me. Three, two, one. Okay. I'm alive. What? None of these cars and stuff is drivable. Oh no. I mean, I might be dead. Yeah, I most definitely am dead. I'm still laughing at this old head, bro. This man, I still out of the loop with stuff. It was funny talking about, he's not that old. He was born in 1975. So, it was like back when, J. Cole had Dreamville Fest. And that's like, I definitely think that Dreamville Fest and stuff is cool, but like for me personally, I don't really think that that's necessarily worth. How can I put it? I definitely wouldn't be out there just because you're out there, you're cooking in the sun, certain stuff like that. I like J. Cole, so I don't got a problem with that. I just got a problem with location and the fact that there's a lot of people out there. I mean, that's what a concert is, but like thinking about it, I'm just glad there wasn't no pandemic a long time ago. And I still remember to this day exactly where I was at and stuff like that. People talking about like COVID, and then like I used to wake up every morning. I used to get up, get dressed to go to school and stuff like that. My dad used to always had the TV on, and it was like around the time like the Diamond quarantine passenger ship and stuff like that. Yeah, and then people had to stay on the boat and stuff like that, and they had people coming in contact with people with COVID, and then the same people who are contacting these people with COVID and stuff like that, they're going with healthy people, going around bringing them food as well. That makes no sense. You're going around people with the virus and stuff like that can kill you, cause you to get amputations and stuff like that, make your heart and stuff fail. I don't really think that's something that I would play around with at all. In my personal opinion. And that's why I got vaccinated. And I'm fully vaccinated, so I should be good. I still wear the mask. I still follow what the CDC and stuff says. So, like for instance, I definitely don't think that there's certain settings and certain stuff like that where I feel like certain stuff is acceptable. Like for instance, for me, I think that if you definitely how do I put it this way? If you definitely know that you're probably in a risk of getting COVID and stuff like this, take the vaccine. I took it. People ask me why did I get the vaccine. I'm bugging and certain stuff like that. But if you literally get COVID and you don't have no money, like you're poor or something like that, I hate to put it with you, that stuff will bankrupt you. Like, if you catch a sickness or illness and stuff like that, that stuff will bankrupt you. Like, if you already know that you're, like, got disparities and stuff like that, or comorbidities, you definitely are at greater risk of having some type of severe illness. Like, if you got, like, for instance, there's people with sleep apnea and stuff like that. And they, don't know. Never got tested a sleep study and whatnot. And sleep apnea, it may seem harmless, but that junk can kill you. Like, because you stop breathing while you're going to sleep. Like, that's... now I know that stuff. Like, they do an observation. I don't have no sleep apnea. Nothing like that. I worked out a lot and stuff like that. Try to keep myself, fit in a lot of aspects. So I think that's a positive. So some negative things I can think about in terms of like we're talking about the COVID vaccine. I'd definitely say how certain stuff is handled. And I'm not going to say anything. Like, the process is very easy, but in terms of like getting people or setting up stuff, that's the issue. Like, for instance, like people talking about the seniors. The seniors get the vaccine. Yes, I definitely believe the seniors and stuff should definitely get the vaccine, stuff like that first. But people not knowing where locations and stuff is at and stuff like that, or getting confused about location sites and certain stuff like that, that's a L. Or people not asking clarifying questions, so that puts you probably at a greater disadvantage than most. So what are some negative things I think about in terms of like the long haul? In terms of we talking about COVID, I've never gotten COVID, never done anything, never been around people. Well, let me rephrase that again. I went to like a protest, but I had masks and stuff on. I won't, doing anything crazy. I was at a peaceful protest, more importantly. That was like last year. Like, I wasn't pulling down my mask. I wasn't doing anything. Then after that thing, I went to like, but this was way back when the virus and stuff, like, they only had like 300 cases and stuff like that or whatnot. It wasn't necessarily a big thing. Now, it's ridiculous. And like in my zip code, oh my God, I don't even think about that. Your chances of catching COVID are very high in my area. I don't live in a bad side of town. Like, I don't. I live in the outskirts. I live in the city limits, but that's besides the point. So, that being said, to me, COVID and stuff like that, your biggest chance of getting COVID is definitely being around people and a large group of people. And then this origins, like, okay, like, I went to this restaurant not too long ago. It was a Greek restaurant. And this person said that they were supposed to be on quarantine after going, like, on a trip and stuff like that, like an international trip. And they're sitting up there with somebody, like their friends and stuff, eating at this restaurant. I'm like, I wouldn't have been telling people that. Considering that you should be, but luckily, oh my God, did y'all just see that? There was on the Cyberpunk right there. No, I'm good. They take that out of the game. So what's some negative things I'm thinking about in terms of like COVID? Definitely. Well, I think my biggest thing, especially with it's like at my job, for instance. I know that people coming in with no mask or whatnot. Like I'm not arguing with nobody for no reason. Like once I'm done with something or somebody, I'm just done. Yeah, like I'm just done. I don't really care what someone's talking about. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna be done. So, for instance, someone in my family, like for instance, they died from COVID. That was crazy. Because well, this was like before COVID, like 2019, like the summer. I went to go see him, and didn't see him anymore. Um, they live out in the middle of nowhere, and like when I tell you they live out in the middle of nowhere, nowhere is an understatement. Like this place has like one stoplight. The only restaurant they have is like Hardee's, and the nearest thing like store, like if you're talking about Walmart, is like 30 minutes away from them. Like your city really isn't doing anything. I'm not gonna talk bad, or town is not doing anything. Like I can see if you don't have a Walmart or something like that, like that's basically your mall. Like Walmart is basically your mall. Like that, you want to talk about down bad? That's down bad to a certain extent. I was still thinking about people talking about like schools. Like for instance, like where I'm from, North Carolina and stuff like that. People talk about what's ECU? Like for instance, ECU might be a party school, but there's nothing out there. Like legitimately, there's nothing out there. Everything is small. The roads and stuff is terrible. Some more things to think about. You don't really have a lot of food options in terms of like something good. Like you're a fan of chain restaurants. You might have a few, but it's not like you have something out there that's like, ooh, well, that got passed. It's not like you have like a lot of options, really. So, like for instance, like if you want something like a good pizza or something like that, you might have Papa John's. They do have some few places that you can go eat at. Now, my favorite is Texas Roadhouse, so they have that out there where I live at currently. We have a Texas Roadhouse, but it's like 40 minutes, and I went to that Texas Roadhouse and I was not impressed at all. Service was pretty bad. Uh, Definitely, like I said, with a lot of food and a lot of stuff, like there's definitely quality control issues. Like for instance, another place I consider is honestly a quality control issue is definitely Logan's Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse is definitely a whole lot better than Logan's Roadhouse. Let me say that. It's not even close. um, like we're being honest. Um, my version with Logan's to me, I don't really care what Logan's kind of go to in a sense. It's always the same. And then the thing I'm thinking about is someone talking about I just want my peanuts from Wow. So it was surprising. Hold on. What time is it? 10:08. I probably got time for like at least 1 to 2 more. So, but I'll keep talking. Like for instance, it's not something that you would necessarily go to. To me, Logan's is okay to a certain extent. It just depends. In Texas, they're both different, but in my honest opinion, Texas Roadhouse whoops them. So back to what I'm saying about, like, for instance, ECU. ECU is a party school, but like if you look at, I feel like if you look at a place, like for instance, like let's think about something like let's think about Tuskegee. Tuskegee is a college. It's basically it's in the middle of nowhere, but that particular wherever it's at, I think it's in Alabama, and basically that town is like Tuskegee is the biggest employer. They don't have anything, but you have to get like there's like a 20-minute drive to get to where everything is at. So, like for instance, Greenville is an interesting place. I just feel like that, and I really feel like Greenville, in a way, or Greenville, North Carolina. It's like to me, it's how can I put it? There's not that much going out there. Like if people want the allure of a small town, life or whatnot, I feel like at the end of the day, for me, all I really think of it, I think of it as becoming like a retirement haven, just for people, just to come. Everything's in a city grid type of thing. There's no type of traversing. You're gonna know your way around because there isn't that much out there. There isn't that much out there. Like everything is just so close and like it's very rural. I'll put it like that. You probably tear your car up. Um, Ain't nothing really out there. So I couldn't imagine, spending like 4 years. Well, to a certain extent, at some places where I do not think that a lot of stuff, in my honest opinion, could go positive. You feel me? What I mean by positive is just like you go to school, you get your degree, but like if you go to some place like Temple or something like that, I mean we're completely talking about two different places. Temple is in like Philadelphia. There's more stuff going on, and the place is more vibrant than some place like Greenville. So, a lot of things I'm realizing, there's a lot of people from up north who are like moving down to North Carolina. It could be retirees. But it could be just people who are just looking to like save money on housing and stuff like that. Cause like all them places and stuff is very expensive. When you look at the quality of like living, you're not going to live there. Well, I mean, you're not going to live there. Like you're going to probably be spending a majority of your income in a place. Like for instance, like I got some family that lives out in Brooklyn and stuff like that. And they have a house that's like built like 1920. And how can I put it that way? The house is rickety and certain stuff like that, but it's worth like $2 million. So they old too, so. And it's in prime real estate areas, but they like New York. They like New York, so they like being able to go to juniors in Brooklyn. Juniors, in my honest opinion, their food is not really all that. And, my biggest thing with New York is very diverse. I kind of like that aspect of it. I definitely say the street food is good. Do I think it's the healthiest? Probably not, but I don't eat anything like, the dirty dogs and stuff like dirty water hot dogs and stuff like that. I definitely don't eat, hot dogs and stuff like that. Like, I'll eat halal chicken over rice. That's pretty good. And they come with like a little salad. I definitely like the way that's seasoned. I like Indian food too. So. But I feel like it's really interesting that, foods and stuff that, people will eat every day and like in their culture and stuff like that, they make a concept of a business around that. So, like, while you getting like a tikka masala, they're probably eating that probably very often because like that's very specific to one's culture. Like, you feel me? Um, but I feel like a lot of restaurants, in my opinion, especially like it could be a Nigerian restaurant or Haitian restaurant or Jamaican restaurant. Is I find that like most of these like prices and stuff like that, in my honest opinion, for certain plates and certain stuff, it can be exorbitant. Like why spend $15 or $17 on a plate of food and I don't know who you are, like specifically, or like you're not really catering to like somebody's. I would say that's a little bit too steep. Like you have a brick and mortar, and I feel like certain people's food has been better when they're in a concept of like a food truck rather than an actual brick and mortar building. How can I put it that way? Because if you get to a point where like, how can I put it this way? If you get to a point where you don't really have your menu together, and I feel like that's really what's getting a lot of people's restaurants stuff like that. Is that they don't necessarily have their menu together. They're just trying to build their base around a few dishes. The food truck has been better than the actual brick and mortar edition of their restaurant because they may have had a soft launch. They may have had a few different things with their restaurant, so certain stuff like that, like getting cooks. Whereas if they're on the food truck, they're primarily the one cooking the food. They're seeing the oversight and certain stuff like that. But one thing I noticed about food truck, for instance, and then people they gotta go get what you call it, gasoline and certain stuff like to power that thing. And then I realized too, it just depends like on food. Like sometimes I can't even follow. Like for instance, the food truck, like a particular food truck. I thought the food was good at this person's thing, but it was just overpriced. Like this person had like 12, the ribs and stuff like $13, and he didn't really have any sides. Like with that, but I got like a pulled pork plate. It's like fries. It had like pulled pork and stuff in that. It had barbecue sauce. That it was very good. It was very good. But he does like vegan dishes too, and certain stuff like that. But I feel like my biggest thing with like these foods, you shouldn't be trying to experiment or really, if you don't have your menu together, you really can't charge an exorbitant price and nobody knows your business. Like I would support people's business to like legitimately, but if your food and stuff is not good, it's just not good, and it's not worth the price. That's kind of where you have to really be like, yeah, this ain't it, chief. This ain't it. Because the likelihood is like, you going back to a particular restaurant just for nostalgia, even if it's not necessarily the same, you're probably still going to go. Just because you have some type of attachment to the place. Like, for instance, let's think about a place. Like, if you're this Chinese place, what you call it, that my parents and I used to go to. That place, like, we've had a few Chinese spots that we gone to. It used to be staples for us. We don't really go there that often anymore. But every now and then they'll try to go. But I don't eat Chinese food anymore. Like a traditional Chinese, like I just go to Panda Express. The one thing that I realized, especially with food, I'm not talking about like I'm on a health journey. I mean, I work out, I try to eat right, certain stuff like that, balance stuff out. One thing I notice most is that, for instance, a lot of foods and stuff like that, they have a whole lot of additives and certain stuff like that, like MSG. MSG is not necessarily bad. There's been studies to show I'm not really that, focused on that. I just think that Chinese food, and for instance, I like Chinese food, but I just don't like some of the stuff that comes along with Chinese food. Like for instance, um, chicken and mixed vegetables, for instance, at the Chinese place. It's not necessarily the biggest thing that you want to be like, yeah, let me go ahead and get this real quick. It's not gonna be the biggest thing you can be like, yeah, let me go ahead and get that real quick. It's gonna be something slight where like, you may get it, you may think about it. But I realized some of the vegetables and stuff weren't done and the chicken wasn't fully cooked. Or the chicken stuff was tough. And then the rice, imagine eating on some rice and then having like a $300 dental bill. Because you crack your teeth and then like that, bro, that'd be terrible. The rice and stuff wasn't boiled correctly. And then I'm still thinking about food truck. A food truck you really don't have to incorporate that much. I mean, you got to get permits and stuff like that, but you do have to have some type of paperwork and then some type of thing. But then I know if a place is connected to like for instance, like a gas station, the owners and stuff like that at gas station, they definitely getting some kickback with that. Nothing wrong with that. Ooh. Hopefully this is not a part two. Me going outside. So let me go with three. My biggest thing too, especially like dealing with restaurants, especially I felt the format. People were definitely good when they definitely had the food truck, and definitely not, the restaurant. The restaurant and then the food truck are two different things. Two like two wholly completely different things. And the way they're operating is, different. You're dealing with, a fixed expense versus a variable expense. Like, you feel me? Your only cost is basically gas. Like, you can do something with the food truck that you can't do with what you call it. You ain't got to really worry about, like, upgrading or upfitting a building that you may or may not own, for one. You got to look for some real estate, for one. Two, you got to find the right spot. Then you have to find, how can I put it this way? You have to find basically a business or basically a shopping center connected to something that's generating some traffic. Two, just to see if your business, like, is this something where, like, somebody can just come. Who are my biggest thing? Who am I trying to really reach to? Am I trying to reach the people who are, working, the lunch crowd, like, the white collar or blue collar? Just get your stuff on the fly. And I feel like a lot of restaurants now is not we're not focused on just getting something on the fly. We're just trying to put people there. And I feel like the hardest thing for a business or a restaurant in that fact of the matter is they're not really there to get people in and out. They're just there to like make people be in there longer than what is expected in my honest opinion. So money and stuff can flow through the business. And I think that that's a good and a bad thing. Like for instance, there's certain stuff that could be a simplified process, but it's going to be, how can I say, you're going to have to wait a whole lot longer. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. Especially in the day and age of COVID, nah. What? I mean, I did have the first shot on him. I'll play one more. I'm out. But, like, yeah. I definitely feel like if you have a restaurant and certain stuff like that, the transformation and stuff like that, you have to get something connected to something, rather, or you can't justify it. Like for instance, there was this Indian restaurant I used to love going to. Then the principal responsible for this location was like working and certain stuff like that, building. There was nothing. There were individual to a specific area where there was not that many options. At least culturally. How can I put it? Inclusive, like foods out there. Like you may have had your Mexican restaurant and stuff like that, but it's in the middle of a shopping center at the back skirts and certain stuff like that. It wasn't attached to like a movie theater, for instance. And the natural thing was like people, they go to a movie and certain stuff like that. They might go get something, and Indian food is not necessarily known for like necessarily being. A lot of people think that Indian food is spicy. I don't think that not all Indian food is spicy. It may be made with a lot of spices, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily spicy. Like cardamom, coriander, and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean it's spicy. And especially the Indian restaurant that I used to go to. I've had Indian food in like, I think over a year now. But I'm cool with that to a certain extent. I'm not really craving Indian food and nothing like that, but they will ask you, would you like it spicy? Or they make it specific to your palate, like what you would want. And I feel like that's very a good thing because a lot of people and certain stuff like that, you really have to ask yourself. Like for instance, like people with a business owner, do people need this? Like, for instance, I went to a place and this place was just nasty. I will never go there again. And here's what they did, and to this day I still question it. Like someone tried to make a jerk chicken sauce with sriracha. And to describe the taste, people always have a funny way of describing stuff, but I feel like that's kind of true. Like, it tasted like nasty Robitussin. Like, nasty Robitussin. That's exactly what it tastes like, nasty Robitussin. So, nasty and expired Robitussin. So someone talking about honey, honey sriracha. I definitely don't think that honey and sriracha definitely. It just depends on certain stuff. Who is this? Jekyll. Dr. Jekyll. Okay. Let me think of some other factors that, people not really thinking about. Or it's just like, yeah, like I was saying, like, you spend like $12 on a plate. I try to support people's business, but some people's a business, and it's the way to go about things is just no. And they go out of business, they go out of business. But like, for instance, the Indian place, I'll tell you, there was like three different other businesses that were in there, and for the longest time, uh, you know, this place, every business has been in there. The rent and stuff is too high for one. It's prime real estate, but like, cause the owner, he was this black man. He was what you call it? I think he was like an Air Force, something like that. He's an older black man. He was funny though. Cause like one time I saw him, he was wearing his uniform. He was getting like some fried chicken. I was laughing. I was laughing. But besides the point, he wanted to sell his building and stuff like $2 million. And do I think his building was worth $2 million? Like, yeah, the real estate, the building itself, no. The building itself, no. But the area it was in is definitely worth $2 million. But like I said, you had so many food options in there, and it was a burger place, and then the brand itself of this place, and you really have to be looking for that. And there's too many businesses within that same area, for one, that serve burgers. Like, you literally have McDonald's, you literally have Wendy's, literally right across the street. You literally have what you call it. So goes to other places. You have Chili's. You definitely have Longhorn. You definitely have a lot of other stuff in there. So that necessarily makes it a different type of how can I put it? Different type of playground in terms of certain stuff. So they really weren't thinking. And then at the thing too, people will be getting lit after going into the movies, or they walk in there lit too. From going to a place that serves craft brew, or craft beers, and then the burgers and brews type of stuff like that. I'm not into that, and I think burgers and beer don't really mix. This is my personal opinion. Um, Craft beer, I mean, I don't know. Ciders and stuff, okay. I'm not really a big drinker or anything like that, but back to what I'm saying, like, you really have to ask yourself, for instance, what do I think about, um, what did the business owner think was going to happen? And now, back to what I'm saying. So this place, it was going out of business, he didn't have no seller, but the thing he did too, he tried to add a burger and ice cream place in there. That did not work out at all. Tried to attach something where people gonna get ice cream or self serve and certain stuff like that. I don't really think that, people really into that. And besides, too, once again, I forgot, I failed to mention, is that they already had an ice cream place, like, really, I would say, like, in the same vicinity, like a mile out, a Cold Stone Creamery, so he really wasn't thinking, burgers and shakes and stuff like that. It was no steak and shake, it was like a mom and pop, family owned type of thing, franchise. So he really wasn't thinking in that traditional aspect. You really have to ask yourself, do people really need this? What is so different for my business that's making people want to spend their money here? And his food and stuff was good, but like the prices, once again, the prices and stuff is a telltale sign. Um, the specials and stuff like that. You try to have specials for high school students, certain stuff like that. And then another thing I'm still thinking about too is I'm still thinking about this place I used to love going to when I was a kid. It was called Pizza Inn, and that whole brand is basically non-existent. And I don't think that it will ever come back at all or any capacity. Um, there's a Pizza Inn I used to go to after they did some type of uh, how can I say bridge or something like that, or a new thing to connect something, a road. They separated it and redirected people to traffic. It killed the business. Like they saw the handwriting on the wall, and then they had to shut it down. So I feel like, for instance, you really have to really think about it. Residual traffic, like there's this gas station, a convenience store rather, a service station I go to get gum and certain stuff like that. Gatorades. I like to get my Bolt 24. um, for a while, like there was this little bridge and certain stuff like that. They shut the whole thing down. So, for instance, there wasn't really another way to connect this town to where I currently live. I live on the outskirts. Like I said, I live like basically if I go one direction, I'm basically in four different like places. That's the best way I can describe it. And I know that doesn't make sense, but like I live like in basically the middle. I would say the middle of nowhere, but it takes like 15 minutes to get to places, so it's not that bad. What time is it now? It's 10:34. I got time for one more. I'll play one more just so y'all. But like for instance, I don't really think that a lot of stuff people ask for, and that's the biggest difference between you having customers and you losing customers. Like if you think about on average, like let's say for instance, over expansion. Let's think about something that, like for instance, Whataburger. Whataburger is specific to, how can I put it? It's specific to the West Coast. There we go. Texas, California, the area, sort of like that. I wouldn't say it would be. Uh, they can't expand to other areas, but you gotta understand. Like for instance, there's many other places, and they're not gonna have to go into a new market where they have to spend millions of dollars trying to reach people, real estate or locations and certain stuff like that. They're just not gonna do that. Like for instance, too, with White Castle. White Castle's in the Midwest primarily, but New York. That's the only way that you pretty much gonna get White Castle nowadays. And you can even get White Castle in the what you call it, in the stores, and you can just microwave it or whatnot. But there's a big difference. Like people not going to spend millions of dollars and stuff like that trying to reach something or go in somewhere. Like for instance, like Target in Canada. Target needed not to go into Canada because there's still Targets in Canada. But the biggest thing that they did not take into account is the expense and certain stuff like that. And now they're just basically sitting on a building. They basically took an L, outfitted the place, bought a building, and nobody asked for Target in Canada. That's millions of dollars to waste it. When nobody clearly asked for it. They have Walmart in Canada. And whatnot. But it is what it is in that particular thing. And the one thing I think most most about certain stuff. I think that certain stuff can't really be compared in a dynamic if you think about it. And what I mean by that, like for instance, let me put something on the playing field that's about even. Like you really can't put in terms of like method of travel or like a car brand is the same like Nissan and let's say Acura. They're not on the same level, but they're still catered to like people's need. A reliable vehicle that gets great I'll say fuel type of stuff. Like in the city, whatever it is, they've always been good for that. Whereas something like Mercedes and all the other stuff, their stuff is going to be a whole lot worse in terms of like it's a gas guzzler. You're going to definitely be paying, $50 to $60 on your gas. I'll play one more because that was bull. But like, you're not going to, on average, you're really not going to complain about that because it's a luxury vehicle. It's associated costs. And it's not like you're gonna put regular and certain stuff in that car. If you put regular in there, I don't know about that. You're gonna mess up your car. That's a given. You're definitely gonna mess up your car. So that being said, there's a lot of stuff that's not really level if you really want to think about it. Like for instance, Apple and Samsung. Samsung and Apple are two completely different things. They specialize in smartphones. Like for instance, OnePlus is a phone, and I'm still thinking about the Google phone. To me, they both have the same type of thing going, non-conventional ways of being a smartphone, and definitely trying to offer other things that the market of smartphones doesn't have to offer. Like Google phone, or the Google Pixel rather. Let me go there and say that. Google Pixel, you really don't have to really worry about storage to a certain extent, because everything's really with Google. I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. But me personally, I would feel like I'll never get a Google Pixel just because of how it is positioned. Like, I don't even know that AT&T even sells Google Pixels. So I probably had to go to a different market or something like that. I think Verizon's the only person, last time I checked, Verizon's the only people that are selling the Google Pixel. I personally do not do business with Verizon. Because Verizon, like, I don't have a problem with Verizon, but, like, I'm just thinking about it. There's just too many things, working parts and certain stuff like that. You have to be specific with, phones, what you want, how you want, and what's the best way to get that particular phone. Definitely dealing with phones, it would be a whole lot more simplified, in my honest opinion, or simpler, really, in terms of it would just be straight out with, like, just the phone process. Like, getting signed up for a phone, you're not really doing anything. Like, once you get signed up with a service, there's so many hidden fees. You say, like, up to, $650 or $750 a line. That's bull, because number one, it's probably going to take two billing payments, two billing cycles rather, and they're going to get that straight. And they have some type of portal and certain stuff like that. And then they have a prepaid gift card or whatnot to get you, you pay for the phone. But the thing about it, if you go to another cell phone service and they promise you a phone, you have to pay for, the SIM card, you have to pay for the installation, you have to pay for all that type of stuff. So it's not really sweet. And then on top of that, you have to pay for line access fee. You have to pay for your first month cell phone service. So, like, let's say you get an unlimited plan. You're paying $110 plus the, $10 or $20, they basically pay you to access your data and certain stuff like that. That's not really a good deal, if we're being completely honest, because that's a whole lot of money up front. So that tells you basically that the whole thing, cell phone services and stuff like that, they have high turnover. It means a whole lot of people, they could just be leaving. Because there's not really any variables. Like, you know, if you live in the United States, there's only like, what, 3 cell phone carriers now? You have T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. And I think, personally, I think that all three definitely have some things to work on. Personally, I definitely think they have all, like, things to work on. Now, Southeast, like Southwest, United States, AT&T has a lock on that. But if you're talking about, like, regional, East Coast, I'm going to definitely say Verizon. But Verizon is not necessarily good. Verizon is not good. I'll probably state this like plenty of times. Like, for instance, that Verizon and certain stuff like that, they bought Alltel, and Alltel is what I used to have. My family and I used to have, and they got bought. They were popular. They were out of Little Rock, Arkansas. They're a popular company and certain stuff like that. And Verizon had to buy them outright because they know that it was very important for their survival. They had crappy service. Verizon at the time, compared to Alltel, was the Sprint of service. And that sounds crazy, but it really was. You know, Verizon, they would never offer, you know, unlimited data. Even Alltel, the thing about it, the companies and certain stuff like that, they're trying to make money. And, you know, I have no problem, for instance, you know, people in business, you know, making money. But, you know, you're not going to pee on people and tell people it's like, you know, it's raining, and then expect, you know, people to go along with that happily. So, I feel like the cost of certain stuff definitely should be a factor of what not to do and what not to do. You, as a customer and consumer, you have to choose what's best for you, and with all the stuff that you personally seeing. But I definitely think AT&T. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't really care or anything like that. I think AT&T is pretty good. T-Mobile, I don't personally believe that they're good because I had T-Mobile and T-Mobile was just terrible. And they said that, you know, they're cheap. They're not cheap. You know, you'll pay as much as any carrier. And I remember at the time they were talking about they were sticking up the wireless industry. Everybody started offering unlimited data. That's the only thing that I would say T-Mobile did. But let's say you wanted T-Mobile and also the practices and principle of T-Mobile. They're no different than Sprint. And I know they just bought Sprint, but with T-Mobile, they were no different than Sprint in terms like you didn't actually own the phone. You were basically leasing it, and once you fully paid it off, you had complete ownership for like the phone. And another thing I didn't like about T-Mobile too, it's like, for instance, someone stole my phone in like high school. I feel like I know who did it because I was playing basketball and I put my phone off to the side. And I saw this individual just come in the gym and just take my stuff. And honestly, I don't like people who steal. You know, I'm not a confrontational person, but, you know, end of the day, for some people, you know, it is what it is. You know, you just want to lay hands on them. That's besides the point. Like, for instance, too, like with T-Mobile I had to deal with, is that, you know, they didn't even send me my SIM card and stuff one time. Like, I had to go through a process, a portal, somebody they would deal with, a third-party company, deal with claims and certain stuff like that. They gave me a new phone, but I had to go so many hoops and loot and talk to my dad, talk to so many representatives and certain stuff like that. We made a claim. My dad had to file a police report and certain stuff like that. We had to do this, that, and the third. I don't know what happened to my phone, but I know it was breaking. Somebody may have definitely threw it away because once you stole someone's iPhone, it won't work again. Like completely wiped the phone. But besides the point, if you have to process a certain stuff a certain way, that means your system and stuff is bad. So let me go with T-Mobile and all the stuff. Why I think that they, for instance, that they are pretty bad. So T-Mobile, as you know, if you break not really break a contract, like let's say the biggest thing with the phones is you being under contract. Like for instance, you pay a monthly fee, you pay to access the stuff, you pay to access your data, you pay for the phone, you make installments. I think for the phones now, you're probably having like what? You probably keep a phone for 36 months. Like if you get a new phone, you probably get it for 36 months. They're making money off that, but if you have good credit, they're not making any money. Like you pay for your phone out, like, outright, they're not making any money. The biggest thing, especially with certain stuff, like there's no money in new cars. Like they're just not because where there is and there isn't. Like if you deal with like a pre-owned cars and certain stuff like that, like real good condition and stuff like that, there's more money in that because a whole lot of people are going to basically finance those cars. Like don't ever finance a car for like 60 months or something like that. Just don't do that. 72 months. You're going to be paying a lot of money on something that's, a depreciating asset, really. So it definitely has some depreciation. Cars are definitely in that category, along with other stuff, too. Like computers and stuff, they depreciate. It's going to be a smart thing to invest in some computers. Because I was in an accounting class, we had to take an account for business and certain stuff like that. And the biggest problem that they had was that they invested in, computers and stuff that they thought, was going to be some type of thing that's revolutionary. And it wasn't because, once again, technology and certain stuff like that, after a certain point, it becomes obsolete. Like, PS4 is going to become obsolete soon. I would say within the next, 2 years, 2.5 years, and they don't have a program to get people to the PlayStation 5. That's basically their end goal, like Sony. They want to get rid of enough PlayStation 4s, and then there will come a market for PlayStation 4s, like refurbished PlayStation 4s, in another country. What we may think is trash, somebody else will treasure it. So you're gonna go to some place. It could be anywhere really. They can sell it. Like if you go for instance, like someplace like Nigeria, having a PlayStation 4 will probably be a big deal or something like that because it's still relatively new. And then two, Nigeria is not really necessarily a rich country and stuff like that. So I feel like stuff can change. But it's whatever. Then I'm still thinking about regions. The marketing strategy is going to be completely different from region to region. Like the PAL region. Like if I get a PlayStation 5 from a different region and stuff like that, the console itself will be region locked. I can't play games from like North America and my console is PAL region locked. It's just not going to work. So when people doing all this stuff with New Zealand and certain stuff like that for the games to play the games days early, I mean, they kind of shot themselves in the foot because then again, they couldn't access it. They had to have somebody from New Zealand create an account. Let me heal up. A little bit too low. But definitely, a lot of stuff's going to change depending on what region and stuff that you're in. They can't use the same strategy to reach. It wouldn't be feasible. It wouldn't be cost effective. And a lot of people, they're doing stuff on the skinny to fool people and then try to get as many people as they possibly can to maximize profits. But then, another thing is, too, especially with cable companies, a lot of people jump ship. Like, for instance, let's take, for instance, on, let's say in Greenville. In Greenville, there's no such thing as, Spectrum or anybody out there. They don't have Suddenlink and CenturyLink. Those are the only two main providers and stuff that they have out there. So there's a cost associated with it, and then they're favored by like the local government to provide that. It's pretty steep to invest in. The place is rural. You don't have that many options, so that's basically who's out there. So that's what you got. So you really can't really do that much. You just have to accept it. And the cost for like building out your network, it isn't a good idea for like Spectrum to go in there to a place where they probably have to spend millions of dollars and lay landline and certain stuff like that, a cable to serve this community. They have to do some like information about demographic. They'll have to look at how specifically, like statistics on how many people and what would be the need for people in that area to like care about enough about to have high speed internet. Because in certain places you can't get but so many channels. I find that interesting. Like for instance, you really can't do that much in terms of like trying to figure out and navigate what's the cost of certain stuff because we just don't know. Some stuff we just know is expensive, but we don't know why the expense is so high for that particular good. That's always something that I found interesting. We just know what we see. And then the more expensive a good is, does not mean the better value. don't even know how I won that. GG's, y'all. GG's. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm out. Peace.